consistency and commitment are required when you're trying to build your brand, and not only building the brand, but staying aligned with the brand, aligned with your values. But how do you do that? Is there a kind of a step-by-step process where you can always check and make sure that you're doing that? Well, today on the show, I'm going to be talking to a guest who has created modular system just for that. So, you know the drill.
Welcome to Waist Up Wardrobe. I'm Christine Vartanian, an attorney turned personal style expert and image consultant. As the founder of Jade House of Style, I am passionate about unveiling the inner confidence of my clients by developing their personal style and dressing them for success. But is getting dressed up still important in our virtual world? Well, that's where my experience can help with what I call Waist Up Wardrobe. Waist Up Wardrobe is a podcast for all things you need to conduct an outstanding Zoom meeting. It's about how to dress for the camera, but it's not just about the clothes. It's about everything you need to know to show up on brand and professionally for the camera. Join me in the Waist Up Wardrobe studio to discuss how to navigate this virtual world and dominate from behind the desk.
Hello, Waist Up Wardrobe Nation. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Waist Up Wardrobe. This is episode 153. And as we close out 2023, it's incredible to think that we have that many episodes in our library for Waist Up Wardrobe to serve entrepreneurs in every area of entrepreneurship and to help you show up with your best face forward on camera and have that amazing and very standout video presence. And, because we are always pursuing alignment with our brand and trying to keep everything concise and consistent as we build our businesses. So today, I'm going to be speaking to a guest who has devised a system that helps entrepreneurs in particular stay focused, consistent, and concise and committed to their work. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, I want to say thank you. Thank you to you, the audience, who come to Waist Up Wardrobe, watch us either now or in the replay. We are on YouTube and we are on iTunes. Remember that. So you can find us on many platforms. We are always living. This video will always live on Facebook at Waist Up Wardrobe, where you can go and listen to any time. We have a library full of content and experts who have given us so many great tips on every aspect of entrepreneurship and showing up with that great image that attracts people to you, attracts your ideal client to you. So thank you to Rick Moscoso, my producer, who is always in the green room making everything go just right. So thank you for being here. And maybe he'll make an appearance or two, because I always like to shock him and bring him up on stage, which he does not like. That's why he has a caricature, but it's okay. Sometimes he does actually go with it, because he's always so much genius to share as an entrepreneur. So now I want to talk about my guest. Kevin Palmieri is a CFO and founder and co-host of the Next Level University, a global top 100 self-improvement podcast. And the podcast has about 1,500 episodes recorded and has a giant audience, 850,000 listeners in over 50 countries. And he says that some people find rock bottom, but he found that rock bottom had a basement. And I'm just going to introduce him to come to the stage and tell us a little bit more about that, Kevin.
Hello, Christine. Thank you so very much for having me. Congrats on 150 some odd episodes. That's amazing. Strong work.
Thank you.
You're so very welcome.
Who's got 1,500?
Look, yeah. you are way better than I was at 150. So that's always what I say. Don't worry about where you're getting to. Worry about where you are right now. The simplest form of the story is I was someone who I put a lot of emphasis on external results in my mid-20s. And I had the assumption that if I make a lot of money, if I have a beautiful partner, if I'm in really good shape, if I have a nice car, if I have a nice place to live, I'm not going to have to worry about any of the inner stuff going on. That'll probably just fade away. And I ended up realizing that that is not the case. I made the most money I'd ever made, ended up the most miserable I had ever been, and I ended up sitting on the edge of a bed contemplating suicide a year after that, because I was afraid to start over. I was afraid to lose my reputation. I was afraid to be considered and labeled a failure. I just didn't know what to do. And as entrepreneurs, I think it can be hard to start over, going from something to something new. So I think maybe that'll resonate with the audience. But then I ended up leaving my job and becoming a full-time podcaster with no results for the first 3 years. And here we are 6 years later, almost 7 years, and I get to do this for a living now.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
And it gives fellow podcasters like myself this inspiration to look forward to. Waist Up Wardrobe, my podcast, was born during the pandemic because the core of my work was about image consulting, but people were not dressing head to toe to go to the office. So, hence Waist Up Wardrobe. And I can't tell you, it changed the trajectory of my business. It opened up so many more avenues for me in business. And I feel very, very blessed about that. So hitting rock bottom, what was the one thing that helped kind of get you out of that zone?
I would say the people around me. Really, the people around me, and having the safety and vulnerability to just communicate with them. I reached out so I was in a hotel room. I traveled a lot for work, and I was in a hotel room having these suicidal ideations. And I sent a text message to somebody who is a really good friend of mine who's now my business partner. And I explained to him what was going on, and he said, Kev, over the last couple of years, your awareness has changed a ton, but your environments have stayed the same. I think it's time for you to change your environment. Having somebody that I could reach out to and talk about what was real with, that was instrumental for me. I'm very blessed where I had friends who I could just open up to, and I realize that's a privilege, and I'm very blessed to have that as an opportunity and an option. But that is probably the biggest thing that got me out of rock bottom and got me to where I am today. I am far from self-made. I have mentors. I've had coaches. I couldn't do any of this by myself. So I would say community, the people around me, probably the biggest thing that has allowed me to get out of rock bottom and now to become a quote unquote successful business owner, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So it boils down to relationships, right?
Yeah.
It seems like, yeah. And the relationships are the building blocks for community. But just another thought on this, as you hit rock bottom, I find that when people hit rock bottom, they really they end up discovering who are the people that are really going to be there and who are the people that are meant to be not at their table anymore. Did that happen to you? Did you start realizing there's some relationships that were great and they were supportive, and then others that weren't very supportive, that maybe fell by the wayside?
That actually happened later for me.
Interesting.
I was dating a young lady, and I sound like a 55-year-old man when I say that. I was dating a young lady. I was dating a woman, and she said, I really want to meet your friends. She hadn't met my friends at that point. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. We'll have a cookout this weekend, and my two best friends will be there. And I said, one of them, he's like my big brother. You're going to love him. He's going to ask you about everything you're doing. He's so respectful. He's so kind. He's going to take you under his wing. He's going to love you. And then I paused, Christine, and I said, the other one, the other one is probably going to make fun of me and probably going to make fun of you thinking it's funny. He's going to say some stuff that's out of line and probably disrespectful. He just identifies as a jerk. And I had this moment where I said, imagine if somebody had to introduce me that way. What kind of pressure would I be putting on that person to keep me in their life? So I asked myself a question that day. I said, are the people in my life the best from my past or the best for my future? And that is one of the most challenging questions I've ever asked myself. And I always say this on stage. I know that question sucks and I know it's not fun, but the people who you used to spend time with aren't necessarily the people you're supposed to spend time with moving forward. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have big goals, big dreams, and the people around you don't believe in it, it's going to be really hard to accomplish them. And if people are putting you down and making fun of you, I think the best type of people are the people who want to see you succeed regardless of themselves. They don't just want to see you win, but they want to see you win even if it means that they're going to spend less time with you. And I think that's just such a rare type of person. So when I was at rock bottom, I didn't ask myself that question. I asked myself that question when things were starting to build up nicely, actually. And unfortunately, I had to reallocate time with certain people that I don't even see anymore, which was very challenging.
Yeah, very interesting. It's so interesting. It's sort of the core of human, just being human, is having those relationships, whether they're positive and they're supportive or negative, and you kind of learn from them. Very interesting. So you have the next level 5 to thrive. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but can you explain to us why you designed that, like what gave rise to it? And in general, let's just be kind of general about it right now.
Yeah, it was one of those things where we were creating a course for our community. And we said, imagine this is the only time that these people are ever going to hear from us, they're ever going to see our work, and we have one shot to add as much value as possible. How do we do that? How do we actually facilitate change in a course? There's a lot of courses out there, but it doesn't mean there's a lot of change through those courses. So we sat down and said, okay, at that point, I had coached probably 2,000 people, or I had 2,000 sessions. My business partner probably had 3,000. And we said, in our 5,000 coaching sessions, what are the biggest 5 things that people struggle with? And it was community was one, clarity, confidence, commitment, and consistency. And we called it the 5 C's in the beginning, because without all of those, it's really hard to be holistically successful. You can be financially successful if you're very consistent, but if you don't have the community, you might end up lonely. For us, it was about how do we help people get a well-rounded, holistic version, uniquely suited to what success means to them. That really was what it is. And it was just the fundamentals. We are guilty of being very unsexy. We're not sexy with our topics. I want to talk about the stuff that's worked really well for me. It's worked really well for clients. And I think rather than searching for the next shiny shortcut, if we just did the things that we knew worked for a long enough period of time, we'd all be better off, myself included. I've tried to skip steps. It usually doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah. So back to the basics, right? Back to the basics is kind of the idea. So I kind of want to unpack that one by one because I'm curious.
Please.
When you say, clarity, right, about what you wanted, how does that, can you give us a couple of thoughts on how you actually work with people around that, and maybe even like define what you mean by that?
Yeah, clarity it's a lot of things, because number one, it's the idea of what you think you want. So let's just start there. I want to be a successful business owner. Okay, awesome. But when people think of success, they think of getting there, or they think of being there. Some people don't even think of getting there. Success is an idea first. It's a pursuit to achieve success, and then it's a pursuit to maintain success. So step one is saying, what do you think success is for you? So just as an example, I was working with somebody one time, and he said, right now I'm a truck driver. I make pretty good money. I have a ton of time to listen to self-improvement books and business books. So I feel like I'm going to learn a ton while I'm doing this, but I want to...
Oh, I think we might
open up a orthodontics practice. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, momentarily, but keep going.
Okay. He wanted to open up an orthodontics practice. And I said, awesome. Why? And he said, there's just something about seeing a smile on someone's face. And I said, that seems like a good enough reason for me. Okay, cool. What do you value as a human being? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, do you value certainty? Do you value variety? Do you like fun, unique experiences? Do you want to make your own schedule? Like, what do you value as a human? And he said, time freedom and location freedom are my 2 biggest. And I said, okay, you don't have any medical background. You don't have any dentistry background. You're going to have to go to school for like 6 years or 8 years. And then you're going to have a brick and mortar for at least a year. Are you willing to sacrifice your basic human needs for 10 years to get this started? And he said, no way. I said, all right, maybe we should think of something else. Then he went into real estate. So all that is saying, I know you are imagining what your life would look like if you had the result, but are you also willing to go through the effort of getting it going, locating and achieving success? And then here's the hardest thing, sustaining it.
Right.
Are you willing to do all the stuff necessary to sustain that unique version of success? And he decided that wasn't for him. He ended up pivoting, and he's been very successful in real estate. So I know it probably sounds super negative, but a lot of times I'm just trying to get people to understand that, yeah, we all want the result, but you don't necessarily want the process. And I would rather you know that you don't want the process and not put your time and energy into it. Because let's say he did all that for 10 years, got to the place where he had what he thought his success dream was, and then realized, oh, that's not it. I'd rather just have a real open, honest conversation about clarity with the hopes that it can help that person avoid regret in the future, really is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. It's like you have to be willing to take those mini feet steps toward that end goal in order, if that's really the goal you want,
Yes.
right? You have to be willing to do all the steps that it takes to get there. It's like they always talk about overnight successes. There are really no overnight successes
Right.
because there's so much work that is being done underground, right? For lack of a better word, just as a metaphor, that nobody gets to see and nobody understands but the person actually putting in the effort. So that has to be worth it to you. It has to be worth it to you, right?
Yeah.
So I totally get it. And so basically what you're saying is being clear on the goals, the end goal. Is that accurate to what you're trying to explain?
Yeah, being as clear on what your core values, your core beliefs, and your core aspirations are.
Yeah.
Knowing what we want is great. Knowing what we want our day-to-day life to look like, that's different. Knowing who we want to be as humans, that's completely different. I didn't understand most of the skills I was going to have to develop in order to get to where we are today. So I think that's just an important understanding. And I say this to podcasters all the time. I get a lot of compliments, and I'm grateful. And people say, well, I want to get to where you are one day. I really wish I could give them the keys to the business for a week and just let you test it and see if you actually still want to do it after doing what it takes to maintain it. If you do, you're on the right track. If you don't, that might save you years of misaligned hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is really great. It would be incredible if they taught this in schools, right?
Oh, yes, for sure.
So clarity, we talked about the clarity piece. Now, commitment to the goals, how is that different than clarity? And just give us your nugget on that.
Commitment is doing what you know you should do regardless of how you feel in the moment. It's really the doing something for future you more than current you.
Yeah.
And I've just worked with so many entrepreneurs that they're not at the stage where they can take momentum out of the business. They're not at the stage where they can say, well, I have something coming up, or I want to take weekends off, or whatever it may be. The commitment is, in the short run, you're probably going to have to do a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to do to get results that you want eventually. So it's just that conversation with yourself of, this is what I signed up for, and this is what I really want the result to be. And if I really want the result, I must do what I believe is necessary. Yeah. And just as a tangent / maybe visualizer, think of a relationship versus a committed relationship. Which one do you think is going to succeed? A committed relationship means you're going to do the hard work. You're going to look in the tough mirrors. You're going to have the vulnerable conversations. You're going to communicate because you're in it for the long run. So just that's what commitment means to me. It's just you're signing up for the long run. It's not because it's sexy or shiny or the new thing to do. It's because you believe in your heart of hearts it's what you're supposed to do. It's what you're meant to do. And it's what you'd be most fulfilled and aligned doing.
Yeah. That's really good. Commitment is that thing. I always say, like, even if we did the analogy of going to the gym, okay, and you're in that moment and, and it's hard, right? But you're committed to it, and you try and find every task has a part of it that doesn't suck, you know? So it's like focusing on the part
Yeah.
that feels good or is
Mhm.
joyful or the feeling afterwards, or kind of being able to set your mind on the joy that you can get out of it. Even in the mini feats, I think can be very helpful to stay committed. What do you think?
Yeah, I think as long as you can say to yourself, I'm grateful for the effort I put in.
Yeah.
Commitment, and I think commitment is connected to fulfillment in many ways, where you might not want to do the thing, but if you're grateful you did later on, it was probably the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's where commitment, we don't want to get up necessarily, but we know if we do get up, we'll feel better later. That's commitment. Commitment is having that conversation with yourself saying, it might be the hard thing, but the hard thing is usually the right thing.
Yeah.
And just having that conversation with yourself. And it's digging when it's raining, it's digging when it's snowing, it's digging when it's sunny. It's just digging that hole every day, because that is what you decided you want to do. So yeah, it's just doing
Yeah.
it day in and day out, regardless of results, because results aren't going to come in the beginning.
That's true. That's true. And sometimes the results aren't the results we were hoping for. Sometimes, it's a windy road to the result.
Very, very.
So when it comes to confidence, and that is part of one of your cornerstones in the program, um, that has to be complicated because so many business owners, so many people building businesses oftentimes get the imposter syndrome and they lose confidence. And we all know that in business, it's easy to lose confidence
Yeah.
because there are ups and downs of business that, nobody sees, that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And the more you grow, the more you scale, the bigger the problem. So it's like, my business coach always says bigger, what is it? Bigger level, bigger devil, which I'm sure is she's, referring to somebody who said that, but
Yeah.
that is exactly right. So how do you work with this part, the confidence part?
This might be the hardest one because I think it requires the most action. So confidence, this is a really good example or a story for this. I had someone one time who said to me, I am at school and I always feel like I'm on the outside of conversations because I don't have the confidence to start conversations with people. I just always feel like I'm out on an island by myself and I'm super insecure, but I don't know what to do. I don't have the belief in myself. I don't have the certainty. I don't have the confidence. What do I do? And I said, the only way to get the confidence, to get the certainty, is to do the thing you don't want to do. So I ended up going to the mall with this person. And this was a listener of our podcast. And we went into this store and I said, all I want you to do is walk up to the counter and ask them how much that beanbag chair is. That's all. That's our start. And she said, no, it's going to go terrible. And I said, it's their job to have a conversation with you. I'm willing to bet this goes better than you believe. And she said, okay. So she went and did it. It went very well. We went to another store, same thing. Another store, same thing. We went to the food court, same thing. So somebody who didn't believe they could have conversations with strangers because they lacked confidence, at the end of the day, this person was approaching strangers, having conversations with them.
Yeah.
I just think it's one of those things, Christine, where when you convince yourself you don't like a food, you never try the food and you will never like the food. And it's this self-fulfilling prophecy of, I am afraid of blank, therefore I can never do blank, therefore blank is now not even an option for me. It's actually off the table completely. So at this point, I'm convinced the only real way to build confidence is to have a courageous moment and or borrow someone's belief to do something that scares you. Confidence for most of us is certainty. Why am I more confident as a podcaster now than I was my first episode? I'm just more certain I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. That's really all it is. And I also have a deep belief that if everything was to go horribly wrong and this was to go off the rails, it wouldn't really affect my self-worth that much because I'd be able to get up and do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I kind of think it's the juggling act of having the certainty to know you can hang in whatever it is you're doing, but also having the certainty to know if things do go off the rails, which they will, It's just the way life is. That it's not going to attach to your self-worth, and it's not going to break your momentum. It's not going to make you say, I'm terrible and I could never do this. That's the important piece. Trying to take shots that you feel like you can actually make. That is the biggest piece of advice I would give when it comes to building confidence. If you've never spoken, you probably wouldn't be served to speak on stage in front of 10,000 people. Because if it goes wrong, it's going to affect you at the identity level, and then you're never going to want to do that again. But I started speaking on a podcast where nobody was listening. My first audience was 50 people maybe, and then the audiences went up from there. If I started with a stadium, I mean, I don't know if I'm ready for a stadium now. Never mind if I started with one. That would be way too much. So if you have a level 1 confidence, set level 2 goals. If you have level 2 confidence, set level 3 goals. As business owners, I think that's and entrepreneurs, I think that's one of the best ways. We're getting towards the end of the year. A lot of us are going to be setting our 2024 goals, or maybe our 2024 Q1 goals. Don't say to yourself, I'm going to quadruple my business, if you don't believe you can quadruple your business. Maybe it's, I'm going to get 5 more clients than I had last year. That's a great place to start. It'll build belief. It'll build momentum. It'll build self-trust. I think a lot of us have been convinced we have to set these massive goals that scare us, when I think a lot of us are just scared already. And we don't need goals to scare us too. That's my belief, at least.
That's a good point. That makes a lot of sense. It's like, if you want to build confidence, you got to ease into the exposure of what it is that you lack confidence in, right?
Yep.
So like you're talking about that example, not being able to connect or talk to people, just that little act of you going with, then, doing one task at a time. Really, you want to be successful at the mini goals, right? So that you can start with a 20-person audience and level up to 50, and then you get slowly become second nature.
Yeah. And as a business owner, you have so many opportunities to do small. Maybe for you, it's getting your first client.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Now we got one. Now we kind of understand how that works, right? Yeah. Okay. Now I know what words worked, what words didn't, how it felt. I know what sales isn't sleazy. Okay, interesting. I've never felt that before. Then you just have more certainty. I really think that's the answer to it. Whether you're watching or listening, you are probably way more confident in something than I am. I'm willing to bet it's because you have way more certainty in it than I do. That's all. And more reps and more practice and more time under tension. That would be my...
I was just going to ask you, does that mean practice? Does practice, what you have more certainty is practice?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons we do an episode every day, because I want to be the best podcaster I can be. So it's under the radar of, if I do more episodes than I want to do, I'm going to get very confident at what I'm doing, hopefully. And not at this point, I'm in trouble.
Well, I will say that if I was talking for myself, that definitely a lot of these things resonate. I remember being, deciding to do the episode Waist Up Wardrobe live, because Rick was like, just do it live. Just do it live. No reason to pre-record. I'm like, oh, okay. So we started out live, and I remember my first episode. I think I was preparing for 2 weeks at a time. I was practicing. You could totally tell that my nerves were kind of like unsure during the first at least 10 to 15 episodes. And like I said, when I got on today, I didn't prepare today. I know I have confidence, I have certainty, because there's 153 episodes under my belt, that the practice and the time that I put in has really got me to a point where I feel okay. Like it doesn't bother me, right? There's no anxiety. It's about getting on, having fun, extracting the juice out of the show, and just having a valuable conversation. So I totally get that. Consistency. That's also really important, because I feel like commitment, consistency kind of go hand in hand. But tell us what you think about consistency as the 4th thing on your list here.
I use an analogy of the splits. and this, I think this is just human nature. If you and I had a conversation, Christine, and you said, Kev, if you can do the splits by this time next year, I'm going to slip you $1 million. If you were in this situation, whether you're watching or listening, think about what would your approach be? Would you practice them once a month? Would you practice the splits once a week? Would you practice the splits 3 times over the course of the year? Or would you practice the splits every day? I'm willing to bet the vast majority of humans would probably practice the splits every single day. Why? Because consistency gets us to our goals faster. It's very, very, very hard to succeed without consistency. It's so challenging. I Googled this the other day because I was trying to think of, a lot of people have heard about the magic penny, a penny that doubles every day for 31 days. If you haven't heard of it, let's just do this. I want you to imagine that there's a penny. So you start on day 1 with 1 cent, and that penny doubles every single day for 31 days. How much money do you think you have in the bank at the end of that 31 days? Some people might say, I don't know, $500, maybe $15,000. I believe it's 10.4 million. I believe that's the number. That's because the consistent compounding adds up. But if you skip days, it is drastically lower than that. Way, 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 way lower. Because you can't skip. That's the importance of consistency. But it's also in your branding. It's in your energy. It's in your personality. It's in the way you show up. Consistency is reliability for a lot of us. So consistency is, this person shows up with a unique type of energy. This person shows up with a unique backdrop. This person shows up with unique music, with unique personality, with a unique feeling. So consistency is not just the action of doing something repeatedly. It is also the action of being reliable and predictable. And I think that's obviously that's very important when it comes to business. Most of us don't go to McDonald's because they have the best food, but we do understand and we are able to predict what we're going to get. Probably get a 6 out of 10 cheeseburger. And if that's what you're looking for, you know where to go because they've been very consistent in everything that they do.
Yeah. It's really very interesting and makes a lot of sense. The consistency and being aligned and really that without consistency, it's hard to reach those goals.
I think it's impossible. I really do, because then luck is not replicable. I know a lot of people who have gotten very, very lucky, but they didn't have time or the necessity to build the systems to actually grow, and they lose it all. They just lose all the opportunity because they didn't create the opportunity in the first place. And I've worked with a lot of people who, the clients for me that are the most successful are the ones who are the most consistent.
Yeah.
And I have so many graphs to prove it as a podcaster. I can look at the graph and say, oh yeah, you took a month off. That's when things started going down. So I'm also looking at the numbers and the data of it, and it starts to make sense that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last prong of this, the Level 5 to Thrive program talks about community, which we talked about early at the top of the show, and how important that is, because with the support of mentors and experts and friends and family, and people that believe in you so that they can support you and not be naysayers, that's really important. And it's so important that you have it encompassed in this next Level 5 to Thrive. And everything you said here is so really, if all these things can be, I'm not going to say mastered, but worked at consistently, then that gets you closer and closer to really having a aligned goal, right? I'm sorry, aligned brand, right? So everything makes sense. Everything fits because you are committed to the brand. You have a clear idea of what your end goal and brand is. You're confident because you really are doing all the little steps to get there. And you have a community that believes in it for you because either they're clients or they are mentors. And that really does give you sort of that well-rounded approach to entrepreneurship, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's a really good place to start.
Yeah.
It's hard to encompass what everybody should be doing when you're not talking to anybody directly.
Yeah.
It's really hard if you're a content creator and you're not necessarily talking to your audience. That's why I think the fundamentals are the way to go. Because if you can, to your point, Christine, if you can get really good with your level of clarity, you're going to be able to accomplish more than somebody who doesn't have any idea why they're doing what they're doing. If you're in your genius zone, if you're in alignment, things are going to work differently for you. The community of just knowing who your audience is, that's huge. How well do you know who you're serving? That's big. Okay, cool. Your competition, all that. Yeah, so I think just at the fundamental level, I don't know if those things will ever not be valuable. And I don't know if they'll ever not be a way to move the needle. That is my belief.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, Kevin, Next Level University, is that the name of your podcast?
That is the name of our podcast, but that is also the business as well. So the top of our business is the podcast, and then we have a bunch of stuff beneath it as well.
Yeah. And if we know that you have come here prepared to give us a little treat or a little window into some of these 5 steps, can you tell the audience with the hashtag Align and Shine what that is or how they can access it?
Yeah, so we will actually, I don't know if you have the link yet, but I will send you a link and you can download the entire course that we just talked about. It's either an hour and a half or 2 hours. It's a course. There's worksheets and a bunch of stuff. And that's totally yours, free. I don't want any money. But it's a great place to start. Again, the fundamentals never really go out of style. They're never really sexy, but they never go out of style. And I would like to gift that to everybody who is interested.
Thank you, Kevin. And
of course,
precisely, it's back to the basics. And what a great, perfect timing to take advantage of this, because we're ending the year. It's a great place to kind of recalibrate, recharge, reframe what you want, where you want to go from here. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. However, they do seem to be, beginnings of years do seem to be a great start point for things and for people. It's like has something to do with just our minds, maybe, because it's a new leaf, a new chapter we're turning. So, well, thank you for that. I think that would be, I think every entrepreneur should have the opportunity to go through that mental exercise and understand better how they can get clearer and committed and confident and consistent throughout the whole time, and understand that you really need people around you that you need that community to uplift you, or a community you can serve, or a community you can mastermind with. It's so critical. Yeah. So we always end the show with 4 key things. I want to know, if somebody was listening to this conversation, what is the main takeaway they should take from what we just discussed?
I was thinking of that as you were talking. I was genuinely thinking of that. Yes, you're going to work on your business, but you're going to work on yourself more, because you are the biggest success. You're the biggest growth / shrinkage of your business. The reason your business is working is most likely you are working on yourself. Maybe one of the reasons your business isn't working is because you haven't unconditioned certain pieces or learned certain things about yourself yet. I'm convinced that as an entrepreneur, you're going to learn a lot about business and finances and sales and marketing. What you're going to learn the most about is yourself.
Wow. So self-improvement and self-development seems to be like the cornerstone, the key, the foundation.
I believe the only reason I'm capable of having the business I have right now is because I have worked so hard on myself. I really believe that. Yeah. The pressure, the overwhelm, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. Yeah. And to your point, a lot of the problems we have today are the problems I would have wished for 5 years ago. And I'm grateful for the problems we have today, but I'm also grateful that we can handle them as a team, because everybody on our team tracks habits. Everybody on our team is into self-improvement. I'm willing to bet that our team is going to continue growing at the rate we're growing, just because we're all working so hard on ourselves.
Yeah. And thank you for giving us the tool so generously of the Next Level 5 to Thrive. We're going to put the link in the comments for people to go and really put it into action and use it. So thank you for offering us that tool.
Of course.
A tip that you can offer us in terms of just the things we talked about? If there's a couple tips or a tip you can give the audience, what would that be?
I would say start measuring what you're doing. So one of the best things I ever did in terms of building a habit is every time I did something that scared me, I would have an index card and I would just put a check mark. And that helped me become way more confident because I was doing so many things that scared me. But even if you were to say, okay, well, what am I doing on the day to day and how well am I measuring it? You could break your life up into health, wealth, and love, and you could try to practice one new habit under each.
Yeah.
So a habit under health might be weigh yourself when you wake up, drink X amount of water, get 8 hours of sleep, something simple, doesn't have to be crazy. Something under wealth, maybe it's track your finances. Maybe you're not doing that. You don't have a ton of certainty. Start there, 5 minutes a day. Cool, awesome. And then maybe under love, it's if you have a partner, you play the gratitude game with them every night. If you're riding solo and you haven't found that person yet, maybe you play the gratitude game with yourself. What are you grateful for? What do you love about yourself? What are you grateful for in your life? Those small habits might seem inconsequential. They add up when you do them consistently, like we talked about before.
Yeah. Well, I love that that's the tip because I will tell you that this year I've focused on my morning ritual, my morning habits, and I have something in every category.
Nice.
I have it, and I have it on my calendar, color coded, and I don't put a check mark by it. Every time I finish it, I actually put a little red balloon.
Nice.
It's more fun. So like taking my vitamins used to be really challenging for me. Like it was just this silly little thing I needed to do, but I didn't really make the 30 seconds it takes to do it. So I combined that with drinking my first 4 ounces of water in the morning, and I get both of those health related things done in one fell swoop.
Nice.
And another thing I do that is a wealth related thing is that I check all my bank accounts every morning. And I can't tell you how much I just feel, and I have like 12 other things that I do, but in the morning, and I can't tell you how grounded I feel as I start the day.
Mhm.
It really anchors me. And sometimes I don't get through all 12, and that's okay. I just have some essentials that I cover first, and then, and it's helped me a lot. And I've been consistent this year with some, give some hiccups, but pretty consistent. And it feels really great. So I totally agree with that tip. And I think everybody should have some kind of a checklist to kick off the day. Finally, action item. I know you gave us a tip about, doing that, building in these habits, but if somebody is a little overwhelmed by this whole thing, right? If somebody is like, oh, I have to go download a course, or I have to put in habits and put on my calendar and check mark it off, what would be an easy action item to get started?
I would say sit down and draw out 3 columns. One is going to be core beliefs. One is going to be core values. And then one is going to be core aspirations. So your core beliefs are, what do you believe as a human? I believe self-improvement is the way. I believe being kind to my wife is not an idea. It is a necessity. I mean, it is what she deserves. She deserves a wonderful man. Maybe that's something I believe. What are your core values? I value honesty. I value being on time. I value transparency. I value those things. And then what are your core aspirations? And that's where we go back to checking in with the clarity. What do you really want out of life? Outside of maybe being financially free, your time freedom, what do you want your day to look like? When do you want to wake up? Who do you want to wake up with? Where do you want to wake up in the world? That type of stuff. I think that we can get really good at doing and sometimes stopping and thinking about why we're doing what we're doing, or if we're even in the right direction. That can be a challenge sometimes. So I would say that's probably a really good place. Core values, core beliefs, core aspirations. You can write 3 under each, 5 under each, whatever is manageable for you right now. And then you just check in. How aligned are the things you're doing day in and day out with those things? I'm willing to bet the more aligned they are, the more on purpose you will ultimately feel.
Yeah, it's great. What is it, just really quick for my clarity and maybe clarity of somebody else that is thinking the same question, what is the difference between the core beliefs and core values?
Core values are usually something that isn't going to change. core beliefs can change because as you evolve as a human being, but the core values those are the things that you have always valued as a human. Those are the things that keep you grounded. Those are the things that keep you on track. It is the being of who you are. And the beliefs are more, they can come and go and they can change depending on circumstances, situations, what you're learning and evolving through.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that, because that was that's really good. And I totally get it. So there you have it. That's a Waist Up Wardrobe Weekly wrap up. I love.
That's a tough thing to say. So shout out to you for doing it.
Enough times you'd think it'd be rolling off my tongue, but there are days. Kevin, it's been a pleasure to have you on. I'd love to stay connected, and hopefully people take advantage of the 5-level program, and we're going to put the link in the comments. I really, really appreciate you being here today and honoring us with your presence. And there you have it, Waist Up Wardrobe audience. This was episode 153, where we're talking about consistency, alignment, and commitment, and really knowing what your values are so that you can have a standout brand and really work towards those goals and know what it is you need to do to work towards the goals. So, you know the drill. We are here every Thursday at 11:30 Pacific time. So join us again next week and bring a friend. Kevin, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me so very much.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm honored that you came on my show, and I'd love to stay connected. And I just think that, this is the thing, the bigger you make your circle of entrepreneurs, those great minds working together can create wonderful things. So I've met a lot of people through Podmatch, and by interviewing them or being interviewed by them, that I have been thinking about a place where I can actually invite many of these experts to come and have a hub, so we can partner with each other or refer to each other, or create a mastermind to educate audiences. I will be composing an email or some kind of informational thing to send out to people to see if they want to opt in for something like that. So with your permission, I'd love to kind of include that group. Yeah.
Please. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I appreciate it very much. We talked about community. I mean, it's aligned. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And so the reason I thought that is I'm part of a mentorship group. I have my coach, and we have a huge membership. A lot of people in that. I think now she has like 400 people. So all entrepreneurs that know about entrepreneurship, these are not startups. We're all like, seasoned, or we're on our way to scale, or things like that. And I can't tell you how valuable it is to be in a group like that, but it would be so amazing to, just because the people I've met have been such great experts, I want to stay connected. And I think it would be a great place to be connected. And also, like, if there was a question about some kind of something, then it's like almost like a sounding board area, because you're looking at a lot of experts that are high level experts, and not startups. It's like really people who've been seasoned in entrepreneurship,
in the trenches.
Yeah. And understand the journey a little bit better. Not to say, I was a startup once, and sometimes in some ways I feel like I still am a startup, even though I've been 10 years doing my business. But excuse me. But I think that just the quality of guests has been they've been really great to listen to and learn from. So
Well, shoot me an email with anything. I'm happy to go through it and see if it's aligned.
awesome. Thank you, Kevin.
Of
And
course.
Rick will probably come on shortly here. Yep, there he is.
Yep.
That was great, huh?
That was really good.
Yeah.
Did you want me to post your website or where the opt-in is for the 5 level?
Yeah, sure.
Thrive is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Whatever's easiest for you and the community to get to it. I'm all for it.
I will just do that right now inside the episodes. It'll be in the comments.
You're the best, Rick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
No, that
again,
was
it was really good. Thank you,
appreciate it.
Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Have a wonderful holiday, and
You as well.
we'll stay connected.
Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful holiday. Stay
right.
safe, and we'll talk soon.
Yes.
You too.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey.
Very good. Very good.
So I'll do this video recap really quick, and then I want to talk to you really quick after that.
Okay. Let me do this. And when you're ready.
Uh-huh. Consistency, clarity, and commitment is what you need to thrive in business. So, how do you go back to the basics to really build a foundation of confidence, clarity, consistency so that you can thrive in business and reach those goals?
Okie dokie. That's good.
That was good, right? In Waist Up Wardrobe episode, let's start over. In episode 153 of Waist Up Wardrobe, consistency and alignment is everything in business. The main takeaway was when you are building your business and you want to be consistent and clear and confident, the key thing is to work on self-improvement and self-development. You can work on your business, but self-improvement is the foundation. So that is the main takeaway that we got from this conversation. A tool to use is the guest's 5-step. Okay, I'm going to start over again there. Hey, Susie, I'm recording my Waist Up Wardrobe recap. The competition was really amazing.
You can start on tools, huh?
Cool, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The tool that our guests offer us, the tool that our guest offered us. Level 5. The tool that our guest offered us was the Next Level 5 to Thrive Step program that he offers complimentary to our guests and our viewers with the hashtag Align and Shine. You can get on there or get it from the Facebook page so that you can sit down and figure out how these 5 steps are working in your life right now and see where you can improve. Should I do that over again? I feel like I was kind of all over the place.
I mean, I would pass it, but if you feel like you can do it over, go ahead.
Yeah, let me abridge it a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Next Level 5 to Thrive. The tool that our guest offered us was the Next Level 5 to Thrive program that he's created so that you can get clear, consistent, and understand what steps you need to take towards the confidence you need to really stand out and reach those goals. Then he also talked about a tip that I'm going to start from tip. Let's see. Health. Okay. He gave us a really key tip that entrepreneurs would be really, he gave us a really key tip, and that is to create some habits, like a morning routine, things that you can check off your list so that you can feel accomplished on a daily basis, so you can build in those consistent movement towards your goals. And finally, the action values and aspirations. And finally, his takeaway was sit down, make 3 columns on a piece of paper, list your core beliefs in one column, your core values in another, and finally, your core aspirations, and start honing those. List 3 in each category and start honing those and really work on focusing on it with intention so that you can achieve the goals that you have. I'm going to start over again. I should just start that whole thing over again, right? Action item. And finally, he told us as an action item, and finally, the guest suggested an action item whereby you would make 3 columns on a piece of paper, and in each column, you're going to list different things. The first column is going to be your core values. The second column is your core beliefs, and the final column would be your core aspirations. And then list 1 or 2 things under each column and see where you're at with each of those things and see how you can work on them so that you can achieve your aspirations.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
Yeah,
good. Okay.
That was much better.
Yay.
Okay, done with that?
Done with that. And I just want to say bye to Susie if she's still here, because we're going to go off the air, but it's nice to see her pop in.
Okay, let me just turn this off.